We're giving Joshua a piece of feedback.
You're not giving him a piece of my carrot cake, are you?
Nah, that's all yours.
Hi, Alex. This is Richie from Showtime. Just want to make sure your audio and video are okay before we begin.
Okay. Can you see me?
That's a negative.
Oh, let me see.
Okay, now I see you. Perfect.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
And we are recording, so the stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Jackson. I just want to go ahead and get right into it. After watching the series, and what's crazy is that I had just did a junket for Emperor where I first learned about John Brown. So I had already recently did research on him. So it was very, it was good to see more of him and find out more backstory about him in the series. And I just wanted to know your all thoughts. Why do you feel like we don't learn about John Brown in school? Because he's a major part with helping, the Civil War even come about.
Well, I think I can tell already that you're smart enough to know the answer to that question, which is that if you tell the story of John Brown, you have to tell the story of slavery. And you have to tell the story of how many white people were complicit in this terrible crime. And one of the things that's really, really difficult about being an actor and playing these roles is you have to imagine that you're there and really put your body and spirit there. And the more you learn about slavery, the less you want to know.
Yes.
It's worse than you think. And there's a reason why parents don't want to teach their kids, because it's awful. It's an awful, horrible crime, and it's the economic backbone of the birth of this nation. And there's a reason why people didn't, the people funding your school system and my school system growing up didn't want you to think too much about that. And interestingly enough, it also tells you that people can change the world.
Yes.
The men who took over Harper's Ferry, black folks and white folks working together, took over the largest armory in the United States of America and started the Civil War. And there's just a handful of them. And there were a lot of women that made that happen, by the way. One of they think she was probably the richest black woman in America, was giving money to Frederick Douglass to give to John Brown to make this happen. And Annie Brown, John Brown's daughter, was there helping. There were tons of women facilitating all this. And they don't want to teach you about all that, because if they teach you that, you'll know that you can change the world too. And some people don't want the world to change.
And with Harper's Ferry, I asked the person who played Frederick Douglass as well. And I think, do you believe if it wasn't any Harper's Ferry, do you think a civil war would have came about?
Well, I've done a lot of reading about that. It was coming. There's some people that think it would have happened 10 years later, 20 years later, or longer. The money has a great power in this world. And the cotton barons in the South were making a lot of money, and they didn't want to stop making a lot of money. So a lot of the citizens of the South were really lied to about what the reasons were for fighting, so it's all super complicated. And it's not that complicated, actually, but it was gonna happen. But somebody's got to break the glass,
Yeah. And Joshua, how was it playing, you was playing basically trying to pass as a woman, but still a little boy in the inside. How was that even playing a girl, like having to, basically be around men that didn't know you were really a boy? How was that even putting your mindset in a girl?
It was pretty easy because it wasn't even really about, playing boy or girl. It was really about surviving to Onion. And if you had to wear a dress to survive, then so be it. And so once I put my mindset in the mindset of Onions, which was pure survival, then it was easy to play a role like that.
Also, I wanted to know, John was very verbal about, God and the Bible, but at the same time, he was very, he had very erratic behavior, violent and stuff like that. So it kind of was like he was preaching the good word, but at the same time, he was, he was very violent as well. Do you feel like it was a contradiction of himself?
Absolutely. I mean, he was a very hypocritical person in a lot of ways. I mean, his faith was very palpable and passionate to him. I think he felt that he was put in a very tough position, which was, it's actually super interesting. His grandfather fought in the Revolutionary War with George Washington, but was very angry about the Constitution and about its relationship to African Americans. And so his grandfather became an abolitionist. So John Brown's grandfather was an abolitionist. His father was an abolitionist. And he was a nonviolent abolitionist until he was 50. He was teaching escaped slaves to farm in upstate New York. And they passed the Dred Scott Act, which made it illegal to help escape slaves. And that just he just decided that nothing was going to change until you punched back, that these people were too violent, and that the only cure for the disease was a little bit of the disease itself. It was time to fight. And how he wrestled that with the Sermon on the Mount was, I wrestled with it playing him. I'm not sure how he did it. He's the one white person on Malcolm X's desk. Malcolm X had a picture of John Brown on his desk. And so I think they would have gotten along very well.
Yeah. Yes, very much so. And I guess my last question would be, well, you kind of answer it, because I was going to ask, back in the day, it was a selective few of white people that were abolitionists and thought slavery was bad and was against it. But what made them even realize that slavery was bad and that Black people should be free? Because racism is a learned trait. So how did they decide, even know that was bad, versus everyone around them believe that, Black people are property?
Well, that's, I don't know. First of all, I'd like to think it's their human nature that knew it was wrong. It's an interesting question, because if you take a little kid and you tell them, you take a young girl, a young boy, and you tell them that for a man to love another man or a woman to love another woman is disgusting, it's horrible, it's wrong, and God hates it. If you say that to a 7-year-old, they'll believe you.
Yeah.
And they will carry that with them. And people's brains don't like to think that their parents were wrong or that their parents had malicious thoughts. It takes a radical change of spirit and heart to break those false teachings, And
Yeah.
I think that's part of what made John Brown lead the raid at Harper's Ferry. Is he knew he was a shaker up of things. Joshua, what do you think?
I think, like you said, it's part of their human nature. Something clicked where it was like, how come he doesn't get the same treatment as I get? And I think once some people like John Brown realized that, and, not even just John Brown, but how John Brown grew up, which, like Ethan said, his grandfather was an abolitionist, his father. And so it was just, he was kind of getting seeds sown into him at a young age about how people should be treated. And so I think it really depends on the family. Some families, some fathers can be very, nice on the outside and be nice to everybody in public, but on the inside, people can be teaching disrespect to their kids about people of color or just about any people that they don't like. And so I think that it was just a moral choice between those few individuals that led them to see that everybody's equal and that everyone should have a fair opportunity in life.
Thanks so much for speaking with me. Like I said, I love the series, and thanks for speaking with me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
No problem. Thanks for having us.